A King and a Court of Fools by H. Ryan. Written by Larry Enright and read by Larry Enright. Copyright 2011, all rights reserved. Dead End. It was a quiet, lazy afternoon on the dead-end street. The sun was hours from setting, but the hedges cast a long shadow across Mr. Taylor's yard. 2 honeybees danced around a wilted flower, and a hummingbird hovered by an empty red feeder hanging from the house. I glanced away, and it was gone. I was tempted to run after it, but AJ's story was far more exciting than either chasing a hummingbird or trimming hedges. Even Tom had forgotten about our secret mission to the Finnertys as we sat mesmerized by Mr. Taylor's saga of the Battle of Belleau Wood. Tom wanted to hear every gory detail, but that wasn't AJ's way. His story was one of strategy and tactics, not blood and gore, of courage under fire, not the killing of thousands and the destruction of a country. It was all very personal for him. How could it not be? He was there, and in his vivid recalling of the details he made us understand on a singular level how difficult war was, and how terrible the outcome could be, no matter who won. Yet that was not his message. His message was of the necessity of doing the right thing for the greater good, regardless of the cost to the individual. The sound of voices and a door opening across the street reminded us of why we were there. Mr. Taylor stood up to look, and the spirit that had brought his story to life drained from his face, and his gaze hardened. We peered over the hedge. It was the Finnertys, going inside through an entrance built into the left main garage door. "There they are," Tom whispered. "Wait here. I'll be right back." Mr. Taylor's hand on Tom's shoulder stopped him. "Where do you think you're going?" "They stole the car. I'm going to make sure it's still there before we tell the owner." "They're going to repaint it so no one knows," Sam added. A light clicked on inside the garage, and a compressor started up, sputtering and hissing as air escaped through the relief valve. I wandered over to the gate and watched. Greg scanned up and down the street, as if to make sure no one was looking. Satisfied that no one was around, he slammed the door shut. "They're a tough bunch. If they stole a car, shouldn't you call the police?" AJ asked. "Yes, we should," Kate nodded. "That's the sensible thing to do." Tom shook his head. "We can't call the cops till we're sure there's a car in there. What if we're wrong? What if they didn't take it? Someone's got to go in there, and that's me. Look, we've been through all this before. They're expecting me. Bill told me to come over. It's no big deal." "Please don't let him go, Mr. Taylor," Mary begged the old man. "They'll beat him up." "That is a possibility," AJ agreed. "That's close," Tom said. "They'll never catch me." "You lose your tactical advantage the minute you go inside, boy. You'll have nowhere to run." The floodgates to the ongoing argument opened wide once again, and everyone started talking at the same time. Mr. Taylor scratched his head and sat down, trying to make sense of it all. I let myself out and shut the gate behind me. As I crossed the street, a black and white terrier lounging under a tree in the yard next to the Finnertys sat up and wagged his tail. He trotted over and met me at the sidewalk in front of the Finnertys' house, sniffed my hand, let me pet him, and decided that whatever I was doing was more interesting than doing nothing. He followed me to the garage and barked when I knocked on the access door. The compressor shut off. I knocked again. Greg Finnerty opened the door a crack, looked down at me, then looked around and down at me again. "What do you want? And what's with the dumb dog?" "Can I come in?" "Scram, you little fairy, and take your mutt with you." Bill Finnerty pushed his brother out of the way. "What are you doing here, you little punk? And what's with that Fink brother of yours?" "Tommy's not a Fink. Can I come in?" What for? Bill opened the door a bit wider, and the little terrier jumped through the opening. "Hey!" he shouted. "Get back here, you little mutt!" Greg and Gary chased the dog but were unable to catch him. "The little rat keeps going under the car," Greg called from the back of the garage. Bill grabbed me by the shirt, pulled me inside, and shut the door. "Call your dog." A bare light bulb hanging from a ceiling fixture, and afternoon sunlight filtering through the west window, lit the garage in a dusty yellow haze. The two-car bay was a study in contrasts. The walls on the opposite bay were lined with shelves of stacked boxes, tools, and gadgets of all sorts, neatly arranged by someone who took particular care of his belongings. The cement floor was swept and unstained, the workbench by the back wall set up for a woodworking project, the parts of a chair carefully arranged and ready for staining on the bench. That bay had no car in it. The bay that the boys were in also had shelves lining the walls, but they were littered with junk, metal car parts, half-used oil cans, and anything else that happened to be brought into the garage and in need of a place to be discarded. The floor was pockmarked with oil stains and dried green radiator fluid. Piles of swept-up oil dry filled the corners and spaces under the shelves, and lay mixed with crinkled brown leaves blown into the garage from the years past. In this bay sat a beat-up, olive-drab Plymouth convertible with its hood up. "Where's the pink lady?" I asked. "What are you yapping about? What pink lady?" Bill Finnerty towered over me. Twice my size. A senior in high school, he was nearly a full-grown man. The terrier squirted through Gary's hands, scrabbled across the floor, and took refuge behind me. He snarled at Bill from a safe distance. Greg picked up the air wrench they had been using to change one of the white walls and came at us, threatening to twist off the little dog's nose. He backed us up toward the door. "Where's your brother, punk?" "That's for me to know and for you to find out." Somehow, coming from me, even with the moral support of an angry dog, the effect of Tom's line wasn't the same. The Finnertys laughed. "Get a load of this tough little apple," Bill said. "Maybe he's the one we should invite into our gang." "I don't want to be in your gang." Bill leaned over until his angry face was within inches of mine. "Then what do you want? What are you doing here?" "I'm looking for the pink lady." "Look, midget, there ain't no pink lady here, and in a second there ain't going to be any you. And tell your brother to forget it, too. I thought he might be tough enough for my gang, but I just decided you Ryans are too stupid to bother with. Toss him out, Greg." Greg grabbed me and pulled open the door. He pushed me outside and slammed it behind me. I heard the compressor start up. I walked back across the street with the terrier following. When we came through Mr. Taylor's gate, Tom, Kate, and Mary were still arguing. Sam was lying on the grass on his back, watching the clouds roll by. "The pink lady's not there," I announced. The dog ran over to Mr. Taylor, wagging his tail. He barked twice. AJ picked him up and set him in his lap. "Well, little fella, haven't found your way back home yet, I see. You here looking for another handout?" "His name's Billy," I said. "Oh, he told you that, did he?" I nodded. "What do you mean it's not there?" Tom brushed his pants off. "It's a different car, Tommy. I saw it." "We thought you went in the house," Kate said. "You didn't go over there, did you?" I nodded again. Tom looked over the hedge. The compressor sound had been replaced by hammering. "How could you see it? Who boosted you up to the window?" "No one, Tommy. I knocked on the door and they let me in." "Harry, are you crazy?" Mary shifted into a mom-stern lecture stance. "Well, well, well," Mr. Taylor laughed. "The kid's got guts." "You stupid little—" Tom stopped. AJ's gaze had solidified into a frown. "Seems to me," Mr. Taylor said, "that Harry here was the only one using his head and thinking of the strategy. You're a smart little boy, Harry Ryan." Tom didn't understand. None of us did, really. AJ explained. Those Finnertys had every reason to beat you up, Tom, especially after what you did to Greg at the movies. The minute you walked in there, they would have knocked the tar out of you. He waved off any objections. You can't tell me they weren't gunning for you. You're just too stubborn to admit it. It's true, you would have found out the same thing, but at what cost? But Harry here, he knew they had nothing against him. Little Harry Ryan was just an annoying fly to them, so they shooed him away. They didn't hurt you, did they, Harry? No, sir, Mr. A.J. Mr. Taylor snapped his leg. There! You see? Perfect strategy. We could have used you in the squad, son. There were 1,000 questions. How did you get in? What about the car inside? What did it look like? Were you scared? 1,000 questions, but they all came back to one thing. Where was the Pink Lady? Pink Lady? Mr. Taylor put Billy down in the grass, stood up and stretched. Mary bent down to pet the dog. Billy tried to lick her hand, but she had never been a fan of dog slobber. The missing car, Mr. A.J. It belongs to the Pink Lady. She's a race car driver. It's a Corvette, and it says Pink Lady on it. We were hoping to get a reward for finding it. I was hoping for a Dior blouse. I was going to get my own dictionary, Kate sighed. Sam tossed a dandelion that had gone to seed into the air. The white puffball split into 1,000,000 airborne seeds, each carrying the possibility of a new flower. A brownie Hawkeye, that's what I wanted. Tom kicked at another dandelion, poking through the grass, and it burst apart. I guess I won't be getting that BB rifle anytime soon. You kids sound like you're looking for the Wizard of Oz. You remember the moral of that story, don't you? You can go all over the world searching for something, but everything you're looking for is right there in front of you. In the quiet moment that followed, we thought about what A.J. had said. Billy took off barking after a rabbit that had poked its head through the hedges on the wood side of the yard. What were you hoping for, Harry? The old man asked. To ride in the front seat of her pink car. The car was pink? Yes, sir, Mr. A.J. Why didn't you say so? We did, Mr. A.J., several times, Kate said. Mr. Taylor scratched his head. You did? Huh. I guess I missed that part. The old mine's not what it used to be. Truth be told, I did see some crazy kid driving a car out of the woods the other day. It was pink, all right. He had been cleaning up the yard yesterday. Or it might have been the day before that. He couldn't remember. And right out of the woods came a pink car driven by a teenager with a spiky flat top he was letting grow out. That kid had trouble written all over his face. The sides of the car were splattered with mud, and there were bits and pieces of shrub wedged into the grill, and wet leaves stuck to the front quarter panels. Slow down, Mr. Taylor said when we bombarded him with questions. That's all I know about it. He took off down the street like a bat out of hell, and that's the last I saw of him. Then I guess that's that, Tom sighed. Another dead end. We should at least take the Pink Lady her bag. Come on, guys. Let's go home and get her stuff. Mr. Taylor shook my hand. Well, Harry Ryan, sir, from back there, it was a pleasure to meet you, and you other kids, too. You're a good bunch. If you're ever in the neighborhood, stop by. I think I have enough glasses for everyone to have lemonade. In the days that followed, we were in the neighborhood again, and we did stop by often, helping Mr. Taylor out as best we could. We trimmed his hedges, mowed his lawn, cleaned his house, and even helped him with his laundry. He enlisted Tom and taught him some of the finer points of using a hammer in construction rather than destruction, and together they made repairs to the porch, the screen door, and many other things that had been suffering from neglect. Mary insisted on bringing a package of Oscar Mayer's and hot dog buns most times, and she and Kate always made us a nice lunch of that or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches after chores. And we'd sit on the front porch and listen to A.J.'s stories all afternoon. He loved telling us about his times in the army, and about his old friends, and especially about his dear wife Martha. He missed her very much. Billy, the terrier, decided after all to stay with Mr. Taylor, and kept him company during the times we were not there. They became close friends too, and spent a lot of time together on that front porch rocker. And we discovered only much later that what had seemed like another dead end in the Pink Lady mystery was really just another turn in the road of our young lives.